The rain hammered the windows of our tiny Brooklyn apartment like it was trying to drown out the lie we'd both been living. But nothing could wash away the sting of those words. "It's over, Alex. I never meant any of it." I stood there, soaked from the storm I'd run through to get home early, my duffel bag of takeout Thai slipping from my fingers to the hardwood floor, the plastic containers bursting open like my heart. And in that split second, as the spicy noodles mixed with the puddle at my feet, I saw it all. His phone buzzing on the counter, the screen lighting up with a name that wasn't mine. Trophy Boy. That was the night everything cracked open. But let's rewind, because to understand how I ended up here, stronger, fiercer, with a rival's hand in mine, you have to know how it started. My name's Alex Rivera, 24 years old, a scrappy kid from the south side of Chicago who clawed his way to New York on a debate scholarship at NYU. I grew up in a world of concrete stoops and corner stores, where dreams were whispered over late-night chess games with my abuela, who always said, "Mijo, words are weapons. Wield them right, and you'll conquer anything." She passed when I was 16, leaving me with her rosary and a fire in my gut to prove I belonged somewhere bigger than the block. New York swallowed me whole that first fall. The city was a beast. Honking taxis, steam rising from grates like ghosts, and skyscrapers that made you feel both invincible and invisible. I threw myself into the debate team, where the air hummed with adrenaline and the clash of ideas. It was my arena, my escape from the quiet ache of being the gay kid in a family that loved me but didn't quite get me. My parents back home? Salt-of-the-earth types. Dad fixing cars at the shop, Mom teaching third grade. They knew about me, sure, after that awkward Thanksgiving where I came out over pumpkin pie, but distance kept things polite, surface level. "We're proud of you, Iho," Dad would say on our calls, his voice thick with unspoken worry. I didn't blame them. America wasn't built for stories like mine, not in the heartland anyway. That's where Ethan came in. God, he was like a fever dream wrapped in a Brooks Brothers suit. We met at the regional debate tournament in Philly. Me repping the affirmative on resolved, urban renewal trumps gentrification. Him crushing the negative with that silver tongue and a smile that could disarm a jury. He was from old money Boston, Yale undergrad now slumming it at Columbia Law for his JD, but he'd shown up as a guest judge/rival coach. Tall, with tousled blonde hair that caught the light like wheat fields I'd only seen in movies, and eyes the color of Lake Michigan on a stormy day, gray, endless, pulling you under. Our teams tied in the finals, and afterward, in the hotel bar sticky with spilled craft beer, he slid onto the stool next to me. "You almost had me, Rivera," he said, his voice low and teasing, like we were sharing a secret. "That closing on community displacement? Brutal. Remind me never to cross you in court." I laughed, nerves buzzing like I'd chugged 3 espressos, and before I knew it, we were trading stories until the bartender cut us off. He bought my ticket back to the city the next morning, and just like that, Ethan Hale became the plot twist I didn't see coming. Dating him felt like stepping into a Technicolor world. Weekends in his family's Hamptons beach house, where we'd walk the dunes at dawn, his arm around my waist, whispering about the cases he'd crush and the lives we'd build. "You're my secret weapon, Alex," he'd say, pulling me close under the stars. "With you in my corner, I could take on the world." It was intoxicating, the way he'd listen to my rants about systemic inequality, his fingers tracing lazy circles on my knee, making me feel seen in a way I'd never been. We were the perfect New York couple. Brunches at Balthazar, arguments over Foucault that ended in stolen kisses in Washington Square Park. He even met my parents over FaceTime, charming them with tales of prep school lacrosse and promises to visit the Windy City. "He's a keeper," Mom texted me after, hearts exploding across the screen, but cracks show in the quiet moments, like when he'd dodge questions about his exes, or vanish for study sessions that stretched into all-nighters. I'd tell myself it was law school stress. Ethan was gunning for a clerkship at the Supreme Court, after all, the golden boy with a pedigree longer than the Hudson. I buried my doubts under late-night pep talks, reminding myself that love wasn't a debate round. It didn't need evidence or cross-ex. Still, there were nights I'd lie awake in our bed, his even breathing beside me, wondering if I was just the flavor of the month in his game of conquests. The team at NYU kept me grounded. There was Mia, my debate partner, a firecracker from Queens with a laugh that could shatter glass and a knack for spotting bullshit from a mile away. Ethan's too smooth, Alex, she'd warn over post-practice beers at the Rusty Nail. Like, shark in a tie smooth. You deserve someone who fights dirty for you, not plays chess. And then there was Jordan freaking Whitaker, our rival from Columbia. Dark-haired, built like he bench-pressed textbooks, with a jawline that could cut glass and eyes that smoldered like the last embers of a bonfire. He was Ethan's shadow in every tournament, the yin to his yang. Where Ethan charmed, Jordan charged. We'd clash in rounds, me dismantling his arguments on everything from climate reparations to affirmative action. And afterward, he'd corner me in the green room, smirking. Not bad, Southside, but next time, bring the heat. It was rivalry at its finest, electric, unspoken, the kind that made your pulse race long after the gavel fell. I ignored the spark, of course. Jordan was the enemy, the guy who'd once called my closing a bleeding heart TED Talk in front of the whole circuit. But there were moments, him handing me a water bottle after a brutal prelim, our fingers brushing, or that time in Boston when the snow piled up and he drove me back to my hotel, cursing the traffic but glancing at me like I was the real storm. Your trouble, Rivera, he'd muttered, and I'd laughed it off, blaming the whiskey. Life rolled on like that for months, a whirlwind of prep sessions and power couples. Ethan proposed we move in together after graduation, me into a junior associate gig at a nonprofit fighting housing discrimination, him into big law. Our empire starts now, he said, toasting with cheap champagne on our fire escape. I said yes, heart swelling, because with him I believed in empires. Then came the storm. That rainy April night, I'd wrapped up early at the office, surprised him with pad thai from his favorite spot. Extra basil. No peanuts. The door was unlocked, which should have been my first red flag, but I was too busy calling his name. Silence except for the downpour. His phone lit up as I kicked off my shoes. A text from TB. Last night was fire. When's round 3? Don't tell A. My stomach dropped like I'd missed a step on the subway stairs. I scrolled, numb, the rain mocking me through the glass. Months of messages, flirty, explicit in intent if not detail, between Ethan and Tyler Bradshaw, the cocky point guard from Columbia's basketball team. Tyler, who'd been at every party, slapping Ethan on the back like old pals. Trophy boy. It clicked. Ethan had been scouting him for some alumni networking thing, but it twisted into this, using me as cover, as the stable boyfriend while he chased the thrill. I confronted him when he strolled in, umbrella dripping, all smiles until he saw my face. Alex, it's not. Save it. I cut him off, voice steady even as my world tilted. You played me. For what? A quick ego boost? Some side quest in your perfect life. He deflated, running a hand through his wet hair. It was stupid. A lapse. You're the one I want. But his eyes darted to the phone, and I knew. Lies have a smell. Like wet dog and regret. Get out, I said, not yelling, just done. He packed a bag that night, mumbling apologies that echoed hollow in the hall. By morning, the locks were changed, and I was alone with the ghosts. The days blurred into a gray haze. I called out sick from work, curled on the couch with Abuela's rosary twisted in my fingers, replaying every "I love you" like a bad loop. Mia showed up with pizza and tequila, dragging me to her place in Bushwick. Fuck him, she declared, pouring shots. You're Alex goddamn Rivera. You eviscerate rooms full of suits for breakfast. Her words were a lifeline, but the ache lingered, a bruise on my soul. How do you unlove someone who'd mapped your vulnerabilities like battle plans? Debate nationals loomed in D.C., a lifeline I almost bailed on. But Jordan Whitaker texted. Yeah, him, the rival who'd somehow gotten my number from circuit gossip. Heard hails out. You still bringing that fire? Don't punk on us, Rivera. It irked me, that cocky tone, but it pulled me up. I showed, hollow-eyed but hungry, ready to channel the hurt into arguments that left judges speechless. That's where the shift happened. First round, Jordan's team edged us out by a hair, his rebuttal on corporate overreach slicing through my points like a hot knife. In the hallway after, he caught my arm. "You okay? Look like you got hit by a truck." I yanked away, pride flaring. "Fine. Just focused." He studied me, those brown eyes narrowing. "Bullshit. But if you need a sparring partner, I'm in town till Sunday." I should have said no. Instead, I nodded, and we ended up at a dive bar near the Capitol, nursing IPAs under neon signs flickering, "No politics allowed." He didn't pry about Ethan, word traveled fast in our world, but he listened when I vented about the betrayal, not as a sob story, but as fuel. "Hale's a prick," Jordan said flatly, clinking his glass to mine. "Always has been. Thinks charm's a substitute for character. You deserve better than a benchwarmer." Coming from him, the guy who'd beaten me more times than I cared to count, it landed different. No pity, just truth. We talked till closing, about his own scars. Growing up queer in a military family in Texas, the beatings he'd hidden under long sleeves, the discharge threats when his CO found out. "Rivalry's easy," he admitted, voice rough. "Keeps things simple. No room for mess." I got it then. Jordan wasn't the villain. He was the mirror I'd avoided. Tough exterior guarding a heart that had been cracked too. Back in New York, the pieces started realigning. I threw myself into work, drafting briefs on tenant rights that drew praise from my boss, a no-nonsense lesbian from Harlem who saw the fire in me and fanned it. Evenings, I'd hit the gym in my building, pounding the treadmill until my lungs burned, imagining Ethan's face on every mile marker. Mia set me up on a blind date, a cute barista named Leo who quoted poetry over falafel, but it fizzled. Too soon, too raw. Ethan tried crawling back, of course. Flowers at the office, voicemails thick with contrition. "I was lost, Alex. You're my anchor." I deleted them all, blocked his number. But betrayal's a slow poison. It seeps into trust, making you question every shadow. One night, scrolling old photos, I found a shot from the Hamptons. Us on the beach, his head on my shoulder, waves crashing like applause. I deleted the album, but the ache bloomed fresh. The circuit brought Jordan back into orbit. A pre-national scrimmage at Fordham, our teams going head-to-head in a mock on the ethics of AI surveillance. I came loaded for bear, dismantling his defenses with stats on racial bias in algorithms. He countered hard, voice steady, eyes locked on mine like a challenge. We tied again, and afterward, in the emptying auditorium, he lingered. "Drinks? My treat. Non-alcoholic this time. Gotta keep sharp." I hesitated, then shrugged. "Why not?" That became our rhythm. Post-round beers, dissecting arguments until they blurred into personal territory. He opened up about his mom, the only one who'd stuck by him after the family imploded. Letters from her in San Antonio, scented with lavender, urging him to find your pack, Jordy. I shared stories of Abuela's kitchen wisdom, her tamales that could mend any rift. Laughter crept in, easy and unforced, the kind that surprises you. Once, walking back to the subway, our shoulders brushed, and neither pulled away. "You're not what I expected, Whitaker," I said, the city lights haloing his profile. He grinned, that rare, genuine one that crinkled his eyes. "Ditto, Rivera. Turns out, rivals make the best allies." Summer hit like a heat wave, sticky and unrelenting. Ethan escalated, showing up at my building with that puppy dog look, begging for coffee, just to talk. I let him in once, against every instinct, and he spun the narrative. Tyler was a mistake, a symptom of his imposter syndrome in the cutthroat world of clerkships. "You get it, Alex. You're the only one who does." For a heartbeat, I wavered, the old pull tugging at me. But then I saw it, the calculation in his eyes, weighing my forgiveness like a closing argument. "No," I said, firmer than I felt. "You don't get to rewrite this. We're done." He left with a sigh, but not before dropping the bomb. "Jordan's been asking about you. Watch yourself, he's got his own games." Poison, pure and simple, meant to fester. It did, for a minute. At the next tournament in Boston, yes, Boston, where it all started with Ethan, Jordan and I teamed up for exhibition round, a twist on the format that had the crowd buzzing. We synced like we'd been partners for years, my passion fueling his precision, his grit sharpening my edges. Post-win, high on the rush, we ditched the after-party for a quiet walk along the Charles River, the water glittering under street lamps. "You make me better," he said suddenly, stopping under a willow tree heavy with summer leaves. My breath caught. "Yeah, yeah." His hand found mine, tentative, then sure. The kiss that followed was inevitable, soft at first, then deepening with all the pent-up tension of our battles. It tasted like victory and vulnerability, his lips warm against the cool night air. When we broke apart, foreheads touching, he whispered, "No games, Alex. Just this." I believed him. In that moment, with the river whispering secrets and the city humming distant, I let myself fall. But Ethan wasn't done playing puppet master. 2 weeks later, as fall leaves turned the parks to fire, he leaked it. A doctored email chain to the debate circuit listserv, painting Jordan as a serial poacher who'd targeted Ethan's ex out of spite. Rumors flew. Jordan was ruthless, using me to one-up his rival. Sponsors whispered. Judges side-eyed us in rounds. Mia called it sabotage, pure and petty. "He's torching your world to light his own way out," she fumed over coffee. Jordan took it in stride at first, stonewalling the gossip with winds that spoke louder. But I saw the toll. Late nights staring at his ceiling fan, fists clenched. "I don't care what they say," he told me one night, tangled in my sheets, but his voice cracked. "But if it hurts you." "It doesn't," I lied, because it did a little. Betrayal's echo, reminding me how fragile trust could be. We fought through it, though, building walls of our own. Joint prep sessions in my apartment, where arguments turned to inside jokes, and touches lingered longer. He met Mia, who grilled him like a cross-exam before declaring him provisionally approved. Even my parents warmed to him during a call, Dad chuckling at Jordan's tales of Texas barbecue fails. The climax hit at Nationals in D.C., the mecca of our world. Grand halls echoing with rhetoric, stakes higher than the monuments outside. Ethan was there, of course, coaching a wildcard team, his presence like a storm cloud. We drew them in semis, a setup reeking of his influence. The topic, resolved, personal redemption outweighs institutional justice. Irony at its cruelest. The room crackled as we took the floor. Ethan opened for his side, smooth as ever, twisting redemption into a loophole for the powerful. Second chances aren't owed. They're earned by those who matter. I felt the jab, aimed at me, the fool who'd given him one too many. Jordan and I countered as a unit, me laying the emotional groundwork with stories of communities gutted by unchecked privilege. Him sealing it with legal precedents that pinned the opposition like butterflies. Ethan's closer faltered, sweat beading on his brow, eyes flicking to me with a plea I ignored. We won, but not without cost. In the green room after, Ethan cornered us, face twisted. "This is pathetic. You think Whitaker's any better? He's been stringing you along since Philly. Asked me for dirt on you first." Jordan's jaw tightened, but I stepped forward, voice steel. "Save your breath, Ethan. Your game's up. We're not playing." He laughed, bitter. "You'll see. Rivals don't last. They burn out." As he stormed off, Jordan pulled me aside, the roar of the crowd fading. "He's wrong. This isn't rivalry anymore. It's us." His hand in mine, steady as an anchor. We claimed the trophy that night, confetti raining like absolution, but the Real win was quieter, choosing each other over the wreckage. In the aftermath, life settled into something real, not real. Jordan and I moved into a walk-up in the village. Creaky floors, view of nothing but fire escapes, but ours. He clerked for a federal judge in Brooklyn. I litigated for the underdog, our evenings a mix of case reviews and lazy Sundays at the farmer's market, haggling over heirloom tomatoes. Ethan faded. A footnote in a footnote. Last I heard slinging insurance law in Jersey, his shine dulled. There are still echoes, sure. Nights when doubt creeps in, and I trace the scar on Jordan's knuckles from those Texas days, reminding myself scars make us stronger. We don't talk marriage, too American dreamy for now, but we talk forever, in the way he brews my coffee black and I leave notes in his briefcase. Bring the heat today. Abuela would have loved him. I think, her rosary now looped around our shared keychain, a talisman against the storms. America's a hard place for love like ours. Headlines screaming division, laws lagging hearts. But in the quiet victories, the handholds in crowded subways, we carve our space. Love isn't a game. It's the arena where you learn to stand, even after the fall. And me? I walked away from the boy who played me, only to find my strength in the rival who stayed. The confetti from nationals still clung to my jacket like stubborn glitter when Jordan and I piled into that beat-up rental car for the drive back to New York. DC's marble monuments shrank in the rearview, giving way to the sprawl of I-95, endless asphalt ribbon under a sky bruised purple with dusk. He cranked the classic rock station, Springsteen's gravelly voice crooning about Born to Run Hearts, and I leaned my head against the window, letting the vibration hum through me. We did it, I murmured, more to myself than him. He glanced over, one hand on the wheel, the other finding my knee. Hell yeah, we did. Team Rivera-Whittaker. Undefeated. His thumb traced a lazy circle, grounding me. In that car, with the world whipping by and Ethan's ghost finally exorcised, I felt the first real stirrings of possibility. Not the fairy tale kind, but the gritty, earned version that sticks. Back home, the city welcomed us with its usual chaos. A street fair on Bleecker blocking traffic, vendors hawking empanadas that smelled like my childhood, and a sax player wailing under the arch in Washington Square. We grabbed falafel wraps from a truck. Mia would have approved, and ate on a bench, people watching the parade of dreamers and drifters. An old couple shuffled by, hands linked after decades, and Jordan nudged me. That's us in 40 years, arguing over who gets the last bite. I snorted, sauce dripping down my chin. You wish. I'll out-debate you for it every time. His laugh was low, infectious, the kind that pulled you in deeper. That night we crashed early. Exhaustion hitting like a wave, but not before he pulled me close, his breath warm against my neck. Proud of you, Alex. For everything. Sleep came easy, dreamless. The weight of the trophy on the dresser a silent sentinel. Morning brought the grind back, but softer now. Jordan's clerkship started with dawn commutes to the courthouse, him in crisp suits that made my mouth dry, me diving into depositions at the nonprofit. Our schedules clashed like bad arguments, but we made it work. Texts peppered with inside jokes. Your Honor, the witness is evading. Care packages left on counters. His protein bars next to my legal pads. Mia dubbed us the power duo, dragging us to karaoke nights where Jordan butchered Sweet Caroline, but owned the chorus, his arms slung around me like it belonged there. Ethan's sabotage lingered in ripples, though. Whispers at circuit mixers. Whittaker's got an agenda, and a snide email from a mutual contact hinting at complications for my job app at a bigger firm. I brushed it off publicly, but privately it gnawed. One evening, after a brutal day of losing a tenant eviction case, the kind where the system chews up families like mine and spits out eviction notices, I came home to find Jordan on the fire escape, staring at the skyline. Penny for your thoughts? I asked, sliding the window up and joining him, our legs dangling over the edge. He handed me a beer, condensation cold against my palm. Just, Hale's full of shit, but he's got a point. Rivals don't always make the best partners. What if I'm holding you back? The vulnerability hit me sideways. Jordan, the unbreakable Texan, cracking open. I set the beer down, turning his face to mine. You're not. You're the reason I fight harder. Ethan? He was a debate I lost because I didn't see the flaws. You're the win I keep earning. We kissed there, slow and sure, the city lights twinkling like approval. It wasn't fireworks. It was hearth warm, steady, the kind of flame that lasts through winters. Fall deepened, leaves carpeting the parks in crimson and gold. We took a weekend upstate, borrowing Mia's cousin's cabin in the Catskills. Wood smoke and flannel, no signal, just us. Hiking trails slick with frost, we talked dreams. Him eyeing a DOJ fellowship, me fantasizing about arguing before SCOTUS on voting rights. We'd kill it, he said, as we crested a ridge, the valley sprawling below like a promise. You and me against the machine. That night, by the fire, he pulled out a battered journal. Pages filled with his scrawl, entries from lonely nights in dorms. Wrote this after our first clash, he admitted, handing it over. Called you the spark that almost burned me down. I read aloud, voice catching at the raw want beneath his words. In return, I shared Abuela's letters, yellowed edges smelling of vanilla. Her prayers for a boy who'd find his way. She'd say you're my answer. I told him, tears pricking. We made love then. Not rushed, but reverent, bodies mapping each other's stories in the firelight. Afterward, tangled in quilts, he traced my collarbone. No walking away, Alex. Not ever. Deal? I whispered, meaning it bone deep. But America doesn't let you coast. Holiday season loomed, a minefield of family expectations. My parents insisted on a visit. Thanksgiving in Chicago, the works. Bring the boyfriend, Mom said over the phone, her excitement laced with nerves. Jordan agreed, though his own family was a no-go. His dad still sending radio silence since the coming out letter years back. Texas Grace, he joked bitterly, packing his thermals. O'Hare hit us with that biting wind, the kind that slices through coats and straight to your doubts. My folks' house in Pilsen was the same. Virgin Mary statues in the yard, the scent of roasting pork wafting from the kitchen. Dad clapped Jordan on the back too hard. Call me Mike, son. While Mom fussed over sides, her eyes darting to gauge if this was real. Dinner was a symphony of awkward grace. Dad grilling Jordan on football, Texans versus Bears, a neutral truce. Mom slipping him extra tamales with whispered recipes. I watched, heart full, as Jordan charmed them. Not with Ethan's polish, but honest grit, sharing stories of his mom's chili that had Dad roaring. Later, in my old room, posters of Obama and Lin-Manuel still tacked up. Jordan flopped on the twin bed, groaning. Survived. Barely. I straddled him, grinning. Liar. You slayed. Our laughter muffled into kisses. The house creaking around us like a blessing. Christmas brought its own drama. A card from Ethan arrived at my office. Unsigned, but his script. Wishing you joy in your arrangement. Remember, game's end. I shredded it, but the barb stuck, fueling a restless night. Jordan sensed it, pulling me for a walk in Central Park the next day. Snow dusting the paths like powdered sugar. He's a ghost, Alex. Let him haunt someone else. We skated at Woolman Rink. Me wobbling like a newborn foal, him steadying me with laughs and glides. A kid nearby tumbled, and Jordan scooped him up, dusting off his scarf with a wink. First rule of the ice. Fall forward. Watching him so at ease in his skin, I realized. This was strength, not absence of pain but presence through it. New Year loomed, and with it, the annual NYU Columbia Mixer. A glittering affair at the Met, black ties and backbiting. Ethan would be there, schmoozing donors, and sure enough, he cornered us by the Egyptian wing, champagne flute in hand. Gentlemen, he drawled, eyes on me. Rumor has it you're the new it couple. How quaint. Jordan tensed, but I stepped up. Save the envy, Hale. Some of us build instead of burn. His smile faltered. You'll crash, Alex. He's no match. Funny. Jordan cut in, voice low thunder. Last I checked, I'm the one who stayed. Ethan slunk off, tail between legs, and we toasted with stolen sips, the mummy's silent witnesses. As midnight struck, confetti swirling, Jordan pulled me into a shadowed alcove. To us, he murmured, lips brushing mine. The kiss tasted of champagne and new beginnings, the crowd's roar fading to our pulse. In that moment, rivalry transformed, not ended, but evolved into something unbreakable. Winter thawed into spring, our rhythm solidifying. We adopted a rescue mutt, a scruffy terrier mix named Argue, who yapped at squirrels like he was cross-examining them. Mornings became sacred. Coffee brewing, Argue at our feet, planning the day over toast. Jordan's fellowship app went in mine for a promotion. Life wasn't perfect. Bills piled, arguments flared over whose turn it was for dishes. But we talked through them, no scorekeeping. One rainy April echoed that fateful night a year prior. But this time, I came home to Jordan, apron smeared with sauce, dinner simmering. "Thai," he announced proudly. "Extra basil, no peanuts." I laughed, pulling him close, the storm outside a mere backdrop. "You remembered." "Always," he said, and meant it. The humanistic thread wove through it all. Not just us, but the ripples. I mentored a kid from the South Side, a shy debater with fire in his eyes, echoing my younger self. Jordan volunteered at a queer youth center in Harlem, sharing his story to light paths. We weren't saviors, just two guys stitching wounds with words and will. Summer circled back, hotter, bolder. A beach trip to Fire Island. Sand in our suits, bonfires where stories flowed like wine. There, under a meteor shower, Jordan got down on one knee. Not with a ring, but a promise. A silver chain with two interlocking gears, symbols of our meshed worlds. "Not today, not tomorrow," he said, fastening it around my neck. "But when you're ready, partners, rivals, forever." Tears blurred the stars. "Yes," I choked out, the word a vow. In the end, love's no game. It's the gauntlet we run, bruised but unbowed. Ethan was the lesson, Jordan the grace. And me? I walked away from the play, straight into the strength that rivalry forged. America's vast, unforgiving, but in its cracks we bloom. Human, flawed, fiercely alive. Yet strength isn't static. It's tested, refined in the forge of unforeseen fires. Ours came subtly at first, a murmur in the circuit about Jordan's fellowship. Whitaker's got baggage. A Columbia alum confided at a bar mixer, nursing a scotch. That Texas discharge rumor? It's resurfacing. Ethan's stirring the pot again. I dismissed it as sour grapes, but doubt's a sly intruder, slipping under doors like fog off the East River. Jordan brushed it off too, doubling down on prep for the interview. A video call with DOJ brass, his suit pressed to perfection. We rehearsed in our living room, Argue snoozing on his lap as I lobbed tough questions. "Why you? What's your edge?" I demand, channeling the panel. "Because I've lived the fight," he'd fire back, eyes fierce. "From barracks bunkers to Brooklyn courtrooms, I know justice isn't abstract. It's the kid profiled at the bodega. The vet denied his due. It was poetry, his truth, and it landed every time. The night before, he paced, nerves fraying. What if they see the queer kid from the sticks, not the lawyer? I stopped him, hands on his shoulders. They'll see you, the man who turned scars into strategy. We crashed early, his head on my chest, my fingers in his hair. A ritual now, our armor against the world's grind. The call went flawless, or so he thought. "Nailed it," he texted from the coffee shop below, grin audible. But 2 weeks later, the rejection email landed like a gut punch. Strong candidate, but fit concerns. No details, just corporate speak for not quite. Jordan stared at the screen, face ashen, then crumpled it. "Hail," he growled. "Has to be." We dug. Discreet calls to contacts, favors from Mia's network. Turns out, an anonymous tip to the selection committee. Jordan's instability. Dredging up that old military file, twisted to question his temperament. Ethan's fingerprints all over it, funneled through a mutual prof who'd cashed in a favor. Rage boiled, but so did resolve. "We sue," I half-joked, knowing the slim odds. Jordan shook his head, jaw set. "Nah, we rise." He pivoted, applying to ACLU gigs, leveraging the snub into fuel. I watched him transform rejection into rocket thrust, prepping briefs on queer vets' rights that drew headhunters. It was humbling, his resilience a mirror to my own post-Ethan rebuild. My world tilted next. The promotion at the nonprofit senior advocate leading evictions team hung in the balance during partner reviews. I'd poured soul into it, winning a class action against slumlords, testifying at City Hall on rent caps. Then, a whisper from HR. Background check flagged something. Ex-partner concerns. Ethan's venom again. A vague reference letter circulated, painting me as emotionally volatile. The betrayal flipped to my flaw. Boss called me in, eyes kind but firm. Alex, you're gold here. But it's messy. Take time. Sort it. Humiliation burned me, the fighter, sidelined by shadows. I stormed out, rain slicking the streets, phoning Jordan from a stoop. He's ruining us. Meet me at home, he said, calm as steel. There, with takeout cooling untouched, we plotted not revenge but reclamation. Document everything, he advised, lawyer brain kicking in. We build a counter-narrative. Letters to the editor on defamation's chill on activism. A podcast spot where I owned the hurt. Betrayal doesn't define. It refines. The storm peaked at a joint fundraiser. Queer Legal Eagles Gala at the Rainbow Room. Chandeliers dripping light over tuxes and gowns. Ethan was MC, of course, his toast a velvet glove over iron. To second acts, and those who learn from first mistakes. Eyes on us, the barb clear. Jordan and I sat front row, hands linked under the table. Argue sitter pick our lock screen talisman. During Q&A, a bold intern called him out. Mr. Hale, how do you square your redemption talk with sourcing smears? Gasps rippled. Ethan paled, stammering deflection. The room erupted in applause, phones lighting up with shares. It wasn't us who'd struck. It was the community, our web of allies closing ranks. After, in the coat check, Ethan accosted us, face mottled. You think this ends it? You're both frauds. Playing house while the real world chews you up. Jordan stepped forward, voice even. Real world's chewing you, Hale. Step aside. I added, soft but lethal. Love's not your game anymore. It's ours. He slunk away, a deflated balloon, and we emerged into the night, city alive with possibility. From there, momentum shifted. My promotion came through, boss citing integrity under fire as the clincher. Jordan landed ACLU counsel, his first case a vet's discrimination suit that made headlines. We celebrated at the Rusty Nail, Mia toasting. To rivals who rewrite the rules. Beers clinked, laughter echoing. The bar's jukebox spinning Billie Holiday like a hymn. But humanism demands more than wins, it's in the quiet men's. Jordan's mom visited that spring. A petite woman with his eyes and a drawl like honey over gravel. She hugged me fierce at LaGuardia, pressing a jar of her chili spice into my hands. Heard you keep my boy straight. Well, you know, over dinners of her cooking. Spicy enough to singe. She shared photos of young Jordan. Gap-toothed grin at rodeos, prom in a borrowed suit. The letter that shattered her world but not her love. Texas don't bend easy, she said, tearing up. But love? It straightens us. Before she left, she clasped our hands. Y'all are family now. My parents echoed it at Pride. Flying out for the parade, rainbow flags fluttering from the LDAD marched beside us. Sign reading proud papa of a gay debater. Mom snapping pics with unbridled glee. Jordan fit seamless, trading barbs with dad over White Sox versus Rangers. Mom quizzing him on recipes. As floats blared and confetti rained. I linked arms with them all, heart bursting. This, I yelled over the din, is home. Summer solstice brought a pilgrimage. Chicago for me, San Antonio for him. A road trip weaving our roots. We flew into Midway, rented a Mustang convertible, his whim, and cruised the south side. My old school, Abuela's church where mass still smelled of incense and hope. At her grave, weeds tamed, I knelt, Jordan beside. She'd approve, I said, placing wildflowers. He squeezed my shoulder, silent solidarity. Then Texas. Vast skies swallowing the highway, Jordan's childhood home, a ranch house faded by sun. His mom greeted us with hugs and pie. His sister, a brassy nurse with toddler in tow, sized him up approvingly. No dad, just echoes in the empty den. But they filled it with stories, laughter healing old fissures. One night, stargazing from the porch, Jordan turned to me. Never thought I'd bring someone here. Feels right. Feels like us, I replied. The Milky Way our canopy. Fall heralded change. A joint case, pro bono, defending a queer immigrant family from deportation. Late nights in the office, pizza boxes piling, our synergy electric, my narrative fire, his procedural precision. Victory in court. Tears from the clients, hugs all around. Cemented it. We were a force, not just lovers, but changemakers. Yet, vulnerability lingered. One November Eve, post-election blues hanging heavy, another cycle of rights teetering. Jordan confessed over whiskey. Scared sometimes. What if the world's too big, we too small? I pulled him close, rain pattering the window. Then we make it smaller, one argument, one heart at a time. We made plans then. Not grand, but grounded. A trust, therapy for his military ghosts. My abuela's rosary divided between us. Winter wrapped us gentle. Christmas at my folks'. Hanukkah lights borrowed from neighbors for Jordan's nod to inclusivity. New Year's on our fire escape. Fireworks blooming over the bridge. To strengthen rivalry, he toasted, chain glinting. And love beyond games, I added, sealing it with a kiss. In the weave of it all, we found the human core. Flawed, fierce, forgiven. Ethan's shadow? A distant smudge. Our light? Blinding, shared. America may test us, but in each other's gaze, we endure. Rivals turned roots, walking tall into tomorrow. Tomorrow unfolded in layers, peeling back to reveal not just survival, but thriving. A tapestry woven from threads of trial and tenderness. Our first anniversary hit like a soft thunderclap. 1 year since that alcove kiss at the Met, the night Ethan's empire cracked. Jordan planned it low-key, true to form. A picnic in Prospect Park at dawn. Blankets spread under cherry blossoms just hinting pink. He unpacked artisanal cheeses, crusty bread from that French spot in Cobble Hill, and a bottle of bubbly chilled in a cooler. No suits, no scripts, he said, popping the cork with a grin. Just you and me, Southside. We ate cross-legged, argue nosing for crumbs, the city stirring awake around us. Joggers pounding paths, distant horns bleeding. He handed me a gift, a leather-bound journal, embossed with our arguments. Pages blank but for the first. His handwriting, recounting that DC win, our hands clasped in triumph. For the fight's worth having, he explained, eyes soft. Mine for him. A custom chess set, pieces carved as debaters. Tiny figures mid-gesture, me the affirmative knight, him the negative rook. Because even in check, we checkmate together. Laughter bubbled as we played on the grass, moves devolving into distractions. His capture of my pawn ending in a tackle, kisses tasting of brie and spring. Later, wandering the park, hands swinging, we talked futures. A house maybe, upstate with a yard for argue surmise. Kids, via surrogacy or fostering. Little debaters to keep us humble. It wasn't concrete, but the dreaming was airy, unpressured, the kind that builds worlds. Work surged forward, our orbits overlapping in exciting ways. Jordan's ACLU case expanded, drawing media, interviews where he'd credit my partner in crime, winking at the camera for me watching from home. My nonprofit launched a hotline for housing crisis counseling. My voice the recorded greeting. Warm, welcoming, a beacon in the night. Collaborations bloomed. A panel on queer justice in the age of AI at NYU, us tag-teaming slides, the crowd Q&A electric with their stories. A trans lawyer from Atlanta, a bi activist from LA, all converging in our shared fight. But equilibrium demands disruption. Ethan's final gambit arrived via certified mail, a settlement offer, couched as mutual non-disparagement, with a check that could have covered a down payment. Attached note, for old times, let's bury it clean. I showed Jordan, expecting fury. Instead, he chuckled darkly. He's scared. Thinks we're the threat now. We shredded it together, confetti for our own ritual burn, then donated the symbolic amount to the Ali Forney Center, queer youth shelter turning poison to purpose. The real test came internal. Jordan's PTSD flares, ghosts from deployment stirring in summer heat. Nightmares jolted him awake. Sweats, shouts of incoming, leaving him hollow-eyed at breakfast. Sorry, he'd mutter, avoiding my gaze. Therapy helped. Day sessions downtown, his journal filling with triggers unpacked. But one muggy July night, after a thunderstorm mimicked mortar fire, he broke. Curled on the couch, head in my lap, he whispered, "Can't shake it. What if I drag you down?" I stroked his hair, voice steady. Then we climbed together. You're not baggage. You're ballast, keeping me true. We cried then, raw and releasing, then called his mom at 2 a.m. Texas time. Her voice, sleep rough, breathe, baby. Love's the best medicine. By dawn, he journaled it out, and we volunteered at the center that weekend, Jordan leading a workshop on resilience, his vulnerability the strongest hook. My own shadow loomed in August. Abuela's Yarzeit, the anniversary pulling me back to Chicago unbidden. I flew solo, Jordan holding the fort with argue. At the cemetery, weeds higher now, I sat cross-legged, rosary beads clicking. Miss you, abuela. Got a good one. Fight's fair, love's fierce. Wind rustled the oaks, almost an answer. Back home, he waited with tamales from a Pilsen recipe online. Close enough, and we lit a candle, toasting her wisdom. Fall brought harvest. Jordan's case settled favorably, a precedent for queer vets' benefits rippling nationwide. Cheers erupted in our living room. Mia popping Prosecco, toast sloshing. To Whitaker, the wrecking ball, she crowed. My hotline hit milestones, thousands diverted from shelter. Earning a city commendation, Mayor Adams shaking my hand at the ceremony. Rivera, you're the voice we need, but romance thrives in margins. Spontaneous dates. A midnight showing of Moonlight at a pop-up in Bushwick. His commentary whispered, "That's us, the quiet revolutions, or cooking fails." My attempt at his mom's chili ending in smoke alarms. Laughter choking us as we ordered pizza. Intimacy evolved too, not just physical but soul deep. Reading aloud from Baldwin, debating ethics over wine till words blurred to wonder. Thanksgiving tested traditions. We hosted Mia, my parents via video, his mom and sister flying in. The table groaned. Turkey, nod to dad. Tamales, mom's recipe. Chili, Texas triumph. Vegan sides for Mia's date. Laughter layered over Zoom glitches. Stories swapping like cards. Jordan's sister teased him about childhood crushes. Dad countered with my awkward prom tale. As plates cleared, his mom raised a glass. To families chosen and given. Y'all make this old heart full. Tears welled, mine, hers. The room a hug across miles. December deepened coziness. Tree trimming to Dean Martin croons, ornaments mixing our worlds. A tiny longhorn from Texas. A South Side stoop diorama from me. Gifts thoughtful. For him, a vintage debate timer. Engraved, times on our side. For me, a star map of our first kiss night. Framed, when the universe aligned. New Year's dawned crisp. Resolutions whispered. More travel, deeper advocacy. But the true pivot was personal. Jordan proposing therapy for us. Couple sessions to sharpen our edge. First one, in a sunlit office overlooking the High Line. What's one fear? The counselor asked. Mine. Losing him to the world's weight. His. Not being enough. We unpacked. Layer by layer. Emerging tighter. Transparent. Spring bloomed defiant. Pride planning consumed us. Float co-chairs for the circuit contingent. Rainbow banners billowing. Marching that June. Sweat slick under sun. Hands linked with marchers from Stonewall vets to fresh-faced Gen Z. I felt the continuum. Our story one thread in the weave. Ethan, spotted in the crowd. Alone, clapping hollow. Our glance met. No hate, just pity. Then we turned forward, into the roar. Summer solstice circled. Anniversary 2, now with rings. Simple bands, tungsten tough. Engraved, rivals eternal. Picnic redux, but with vows renewed. Through arguments and accords, I choose you. Argue barked approval, ducks quacking chorus. In the grand arc, we embodied the human spark, resilient, relational. Betrayal's forge had tempered us. Rivalry's flame illuminated. America, with its fault lines, couldn't dim us. We walked, not away, but onward, strength in every stride. Love the compass true. Onward led to horizons we hadn't charted. But life's a debater's round. Unpredictable, demanding adaptation. 2 years in, our rhythm hummed, but whispers of bigger shifts stirred. Jordan's ACLU role expanding to DC liaison, tempting with policy heft. It's a commute killer, he mused over breakfast, argue begging for bacon scraps. But imagine, shaping bills, not just litigating. I chewed my toast, weighing. DC's got allure, but New York's us. Grit, grind, our corner. Nights stretched into pros-cons lists, walks in the park dissecting trade-offs. Ultimately, he deferred. Not without you. We pitched joint moves later. Relief washed me. Our roots ran deep here, tangled in the village's veins. My career crested unexpectedly. A headhunter from Covington and Burling, irony's bite, offering in-house counsel at a tech firm fighting biased algorithms. Your voice on equity? Gold. The recruiter gushed. Salary tripled mine, perks gleaming. But soul search? Tech's sheen masked the same old power plays. I countered with the nonprofit. Stay, lead our DC outpost. They did, promotion to director, splitting time between boroughs and beltway briefs. Jordan grinned at the news. South side to the swamp. You'll own it. The move, partial trial, hidden fall, a sublet in DuPont Circle for weeks on end. First trip, Amtrak humming south. I prepped pitches in the cafe car. Jordan across, feet entwined under the table. DC swallowed us. Monuments stark against autumn leaves. Happy hours in Georgetown bars buzzing with wonks. Our outpost launch, ribbon cutting with council members. My speech on housing as human right drawing nods from skeptics. Jordan crashed it. Tux rumpled from a flight, whispering post-toast. Killed it, babe. Proud. Distance tested, though. Late calls. His miss your snoring texts at midnight. My bed's too big replies. Argue sulked. Mia dog-sitting with updates. This mutt's pining like a bad rom-com. We bridged with rituals. Friday FaceTimes over virtual dinners. Surprise visits. Me in DC with Texas chili fixings. Him in New York with park picnic proxies. Winter brought a curveball. Jordan's sister announced pregnancy. Due spring. Aunt Alex and Uncle Jordy incoming. We flew to San Antonio for the baby shower, gender-neutral blues and yellows. His mom beaming over cake. Holding ultrasounds, we traded glances. Kids? Unspoken but electric. Back north, talks turned tangible, fostering classes, surrogacy seminars. Not rushing, Jordan cautioned. But dreaming? Hell yes. Ethan's echo resurfaced faintly. A LinkedIn connection request. Ignored. But closure came circuitous. At a bar con in Philly, I spotted him, nursing a drink alone. Impulse pulled me over. Hail. He startled, then smiled wan thinner, lines etching his charm. Rivera. Or is it Whitaker now? Both. Pause, then why? He shrugged, eyes distant. Lost my shot at clerkship. Turns out, games catch up. Vulnerability cracked his polish, regret. Real. You happy? Yeah. I said no gloat. Found my match. I left him with that, a quiet mercy. Spring unfurled with the baby. A boy, Eli, arriving amid Texas thunderstorms. We zoomed the delivery. Tiny cries piercing static, Jordan tearing up. Looks like you, sis trouble. Weekend visit cemented it. Diaper changes, lullabies and drawls. Eli's fist clutching Jordan's finger. Uncle material, his mom teased. Flying home, we scrolled adoption sites, hearts open. Pride 20 whatever. Number lost in the blur. Marked a milestone. Our float, rivals for rights. Bedecked in debate podiums and rainbow gavels. Marching, Eli's photo pinned to my vest. Future advocate. We waved to crowds chanting change. Post-parade brunch, Mia's toast. To Alex and Jordan. Proof love debates back. Summer solstice 3. Now a tradition. Park picnic evolving to include Mia. Argue's successor pup. We'd fostered. Then kept. Barkley. A lab mix with opinions. Gifts matured. His, a SCOTUS ticket stub framed. Our stage someday. Mine. A custom map tracing our paths crossed. Vows updated. Through DC detours and diaper dashes, I choose us. Fall deepened commitments. I testified before Congress, housing equity bill, my abuela's rosary in pocket for luck. Jordan prepped amicus briefs. Our evenings a blur of red lines and rants. Victory. Bill passed, narrow but seismic. We celebrated at the wharf, Potomac glittering, toasting, to wielding words like wonders. But humanity humbles. Jordan's flair returned. A case echo of his deployment. Verdict ripping old wounds. Hospital visit. Panic attack mid-meeting. Colleagues calling 911. I flew down, finding him in a curtained bay, monitors beeping. Sorry, he rasped. Stop. I climbed in, holding tight. We're in this round. Therapy intensified EMDR sessions. Group with fellow vets. I joined as support, learning his language of triggers, building buffers. Thanksgiving hosted Eli's first high chair chaos, pie fights ensuing. His mom's grace. Family's what we feed, not just blood. Christmas melded. My folks in New York, Texas kin via video, trees dual lit. New Year's, DC fireworks from our sublet roof. Resolutions. Foster first steps. Spring brought Eli's baptism, neutral, inclusive. Us as goduncles, vows echoing ours. Back, we certified for fostering, home study passed, first placement. Teen brothers, queer and wary. Jamal and Kai, 14 and 12, arrived with duffels and doubts. Nights of bunk beds and boundaries. Us navigating. House rules. Honesty, always. Jamal's coming out talk over pizza. Feared you'd judge. Broke us open. Kid, Jordan said. We've been there. Welcome home. Summer tested. Teens traumas surfacing, school fights, nightmares mirroring Jordan's. Family therapy wove us tighter. Barkley the icebreaker. Solstice picnic now quartet plus. Boys tentative, then beaming at cake. This our forever? Kai asked. As long as you want, I promised. In the Ark's Bend, we parented possibility, fostering not forever, but foundation. Ethan's game? Ancient history. Our strength? Multiplied in small hands holding ours. America challenges, but in rivalry refined to kinship, we prevail. Humanity's quiet roar.